ongoing audit, you are afraid that the past transgressions might discolor your current report. We must make it clear that if there are transgressions in the past, the persons responsible must also be held to account. There is need to look at the current situation, but that does not mean running away from responsibility on the past issues. Whoever was a receiver of revenue, whoever was in charge of revenue during those past periods, if there are unresolved matters, the position of the committee is that they also must be held to account. So can we do a quick review of the systems environment, and we'll go to your report. I think it didn't have a header, it didn't have a date, it didn't have a signature. And so, Governor, when you said they were waiting for your signature, I wonder where that signature was amended.
The signature is on the cover, as is on the cover letter.
So
these are annexures.
So let's go to the supplementary questions that the Senate had asked with regards to governance structures for revenue management in the county. The first question was, what is the organization structure for the Revenue Board? Governor, what's your response?
Thank you, Chair. The Nairobi City County Assembly enacted the Nairobi City County Revenue Administration Act of 2021. This establishes a legal and institutional framework and establishes what we call the NRA, the Nairobi City County Revenue Authority. Chair, this act had not been implemented from 2021. When I became the governor of Nairobi, I moved quickly to implement this act by setting up the Revenue Authority, which is headquartered at CBK Pension Towers. We have a fully fledged board chaired by one Andrew Chege, who is an expert in taxation, has worked at KRA for a long time. He is part of those who innovated iTax and other innovations on technology. It has a full board which represents different parts of society, including residents, including business community. The vice chair is in the Chamber of Commerce. So we have the organizational structure that I have attached. We have the interim CEO, Dr. Ntoiti, who is here with us. He's the interim CEO of the Nairobi Revenue Authority. He's been the CEO of Meru Revenue Authority. But before that, he was a player we loaned to Meru. He used to be in Nairobi. But because he comes from there and the governor then wanted homegrown talent, he was on loan for a few years and came back. But he's a great expert in revenue.
Why is he still interim?
He was interim there in Meru.
No, he introduced himself as interim.
He's Director of Revenue in Nairobi County Government, but interim CEO at the Revenue Authority. The board is undertaking recruitment for substantive CEO. And so we've seconded him to the authority, while just to help them, get the administration moving. But the board, according to the Revenue Act, the Revenue Administration Act, are the ones to recruit. Currently, there's a tender. If you look at the public procurement portal, tender 148, on request for proposal of recruitment consultancy services for position of Chief Executive Officer, Revenue Administration for Nairobi Revenue Authority. That one is currently on the portal. We can share the reference for that, Chair.
So that's still live?
It is live as we speak.
Okay, we proceed then to the number of employees deployed in revenue collection.
So currently there's 1,298 staff who are deployed for revenue collection. The staff, the list of all of them, their IPPD numbers and their workstations are attached. Chair, there are different departments there. We have those who do revenue from building plans. We have those who do sundry debtors. There are those who do rental and markets. These are the markets which are on the TPS scheme, tenant purchase scheme. We have public health revenue, which is quite substantive. Advertisement revenue, building materials unit, city funeral homes. We have now revenue officers in all our hospitals and proper, finance structure. You remember there had been an issue in auditing of level 5, level 4 hospitals, which are led now by CEOs, which was also an intervention we brought in. We have the DCU, which is the enforcement unit. We have rates, and part of what we want to do in enhancing revenue is actually making rates a fully fledged department, property tax, as is the case. We've benchmarked cities across the world. You have it fully fledged. You have what we call the, tax bargaining, so that you can actually establish the correct value of taxation to be paid. So, Chair, that is the structure.
How does automation affect the numbers? Do you expect that with great automation, the numbers will reduce? Just this morning, I was driving through the city, and I saw parking revenue officers, and there are quite many wearing those jackets, saying corruption is evil.
It is evil.
I thought you should say it is illegal, because not everyone believes in your faith.
No, but there are very few legal.
Evil is a matter of faith. So should we expect the numbers to reduce as a result of automation? Because this is a huge army.
It is a huge army. Remember, this is a city of 5 million people. There's only 1,200. Even with automation, a system is as good as what you feed it. And so you need people physically querying the payments done. And sometimes I'm sure you see some of the mistakes done when you get an SMS saying you parked in town and your vehicle has been in the garage. And normally that's a human error. They'll put your vehicle KAD and mess one number. And so we keep trying to improve that, either through taking a photo of the number plate instead of keying in the numbers. Some people have these fancy plates where, the B looks like an E, and we are working with NTSA to make sure let it be standard so that we can be able to capture it properly. So,
Governor, do these people have the right job title? If we have an automated revenue collection system, that work that you're describing is not revenue collection, is it?
In terms of?
And that is why the chair was saying, because we have gone through the discussion about our wage bill, where our entire equitable share is consumed by wage bill. So how can automation not result in a reduction of the wage bill? And that job that you're describing, really, is that a proper name for the work that these people do?
The job of parking attendants?
No, you're calling them revenue collectors. Staff deployed for revenue collection.
Chair, some of these terms are statutory terms. PFM 158 determines that there must be revenue collectors. Yeah, so that is under PFM. But the specific designation of which revenue they collect then depends on the revenue stream. But the PFM stipulates that we must actually have them as revenue collectors who report.
So back to the question that the chair raised. How can automation not have any impact on our wage bill?
It has an impact, but you see what you do is that you then redeploy, because you will not fire PNP people because you've gotten a revenue solution. You actually retrain them and use them until their time goes. What you reduce is new employment. People have worked in City Hall for years, they're about to retire or they're in their 40s. Because of technology, let's not have the situation in the tea farms. Senator Terergay will remind you of a visit we did when I was chair of Labour, and he was a ranking member. And we went to George Finlay or who Finlay? James Finlay. And they were saying these machines are getting us out of work. We have a big unemployment problem. And so while we might reduce the employment, we cannot fire people because of user technology, because once that thought comes out, they will sabotage the technology that is currently being deployed. And so it is really retraining them to make the systems more efficient, Chair.
It will then be a point of convergence that these are not revenue collection officers. They no longer do that work.
They help revenue collection by verifying that you've paid the revenue. They don't receive cash. Actually, we've closed our cash office. There's no cash office in Nairobi County because everything is electronic. And we want to continue doing a campaign, which I'm sure you'll help us as a senator, to sensitize people across the city. If anyone asks you for cash, it is them you're paying, not the county government, And part of it, actually, if I may, has made us reduce some charges. I'll give you an example. There were trailers, the fee for trailers parking in Russell area was 3,000 shillings. But the bribe was 1,000. And so we said, let's make the fee 1,000. So it was reduced. We're collecting more now with a lower amount, because now, if the bribe is the same as you'd rather just pay, instead of going through those. So we've actually reduced some of those rates, but widened compliance, and we're collecting more through that, Chair.
Okay, we'll then maybe when you're doing your audit also, maybe look at how these numbers have been growing. because you have 1298. Has that been the number over the years? Is it increasing? Are you recruiting more? And yet still putting more money on automation?
We can look at that. Currently, we've just shortlisted 43 revenue clerks. The 43 had been at our customer service center, which I would really invite you to come visit, at City Hall Annex on the first floor. There had been, not 43, 40. There had been casuals for a long time, young people who really helped us revamp, build this revenue. And we felt that it's good to confirm them. So that's the only recruitment, apart from the CEO and the top directors of the Revenue Authority. And then now the discussion is going on who within the current establishment of the county government then transitions to the Revenue Authority. It's a very sensitive discussion because there's some things you want to replicate, there's some things you don't want to transfer to a new institution. And so that is an ongoing discussion. Chair, I'm very alive to labor issues. You know I've been chair of labor and I'm also chair of labor at the COG. And so you must be alive to contractual obligations that you currently have with the staff.
Yeah, and I think we also need to urge a human face to revenue collection.
Yes.
I visited a flower, these roadside operations where they sell potted plants. And the lady there expressed her frustration. There's an army of KRA people. I think that was when KRA had hired some people to move around premises to ask all sorts of funny questions. This lady tells me that the KRA people would come in the morning, the Kanjo guys would come in the afternoon. There would be fees paid through the system, but there is an informal mafia going around. There are fees that are collected by those persons. And that's why when you talk of the 1,298, some of them could be industrious citizens, but some of them are rent seekers, frustrating small and medium enterprises. I think the lady was telling me that she would part with 500 for KRA, another 500 for Kanjo, and she's just selling flowers. One bougainvillea, perhaps, she sells at 50 shillings. By the time she sells enough to make 1,000, it means that she has had to sell almost 50 seedlings. You can clearly see, to have 50 seedlings is a lot of money, is a lot of effort, but then it's taken away by those who purport to be collecting tax. And they are not getting any service in return anyway, because they draw water from the nearby stream. They are not even using Kanjo water to water the plants. And I think that's a conversation, that's a concern that many Nairobians doing those small businesses have. Salons, liquor shops, florists, or those roadside operations. Let's put a human face to revenue collection.
Chair, I'm in full agreement with you. Of course, on a light note, if you see KRA is taking the same amount, possibly that should be the share of revenue also. We should do 50-50. But seriously, it is the reason why we even published in the newspapers who the inspection officers are. Before, what you'd have, and we're really moving away from it. In the morning, somebody will come to look at your single business permit. In the afternoon, someone comes from City Hall saying, I'm looking at fire. Tomorrow, somebody comes, pest control. The next day, somebody else comes on advertising. And we said that there's only going to be one inspection team. What we've now moved to, as we finish our biometric exercise, which is speaking to our wage bill, is that then we will deploy what we deployed in Nairobi Water. In Nairobi Water, we've deployed something called Jitambulishe. Well, if somebody comes to your house purporting to read the meter or to be an officer, you can actually use an USSD code, type it out, and they'll tell you if Edwin Sifuna is a meter reader or not. And you can even go further and press a link and see their photo. Because somebody can come with your ID, knowing that Peter Karande is a meter officer. So we're doing that as well. So one inspection team that has all the cadres published, you can tell that, and the numbers look many, but they're not. Remember, we have 85 wards. If you look at Kamkunji Sub-County Revenue Officers, for instance, Isili North, there are 14 officers. You know the number of businesses in Isili, and business premises. 14 officers is not an overkill. 14 officers are sufficient because what we tell them is our approach towards revenue is not punishment but compliance. And so they come, they look at your license, and they tell you, look, this license actually is not genuine. There's an E-Verify sticker yeah, with a QR code. And then they walk you through with our compliance application how to get the proper license. And that is why today, if you look at the city court, the numbers are much less than used to be. City court used to be like remand of industrial area. Of course, it is not perfect. We're continuously improving it, because you'll find one or two rotten eggs, and that's why we want to deploy a system where Nairobians can actually tell us.
That's what I wanted to go to, Governor.
Yeah.
In other jurisdictions, we have departments of internal affairs,
Yes.
where members of the public can report this thing. And you know, it is sometimes the situation on ground, as they say, is totally different. The sort of friendliness that is required from those officers for you to even check their identification is sometimes not always there.
Yeah.
And it is very easy to theorize and say you can ask them, like the way they tell Kenyans, you can ask a police officer to show you his identification or force number. But for ground, by the time you are checking, you are in the back of that.
Mariam.
Yes, you said you cleared all the old ones. Now we have new prison buses.
Mm. You know, Chair, the Nairobian of today is defiant in a positive way. They don't take. I love how you see Nairobians recording people doing the wrong thing. And you see, as we develop this, I would want Nairobians to be able to show us that officer. There are many masquerading as our county officers, and that's why I want my officers to be fully, recognizable and identifiable, so that if you have a record on video, there's something I'm working on in our finance bill, in our finance act, which turns all Nairobians into inspectors. So any Nairobian can actually record an intervention of the law and help us even verify. If you find this one is fake and you report it, split the fine with them. That if you're to pay 10,000 for the license and the fine is 5,000, take 2,500 and give us 2,500. It's something we're working on. Because compliance is for the benefit of all of us. If people are jumping traffic lights, the inconvenience is not to the governor. It is to you in traffic. You should be able to also record and help us snap that person. So, culture change, organizational change in terms of values is a process. It doesn't happen in a day or in a year. But many will tell you that the officers have become a bit friendlier. And those rogue ones, I want to know them because they're giving us a bad face. They don't look like what we want to give Nairobians. Our second principle is dignity. Chair.
Yeah, I think as Senator Sifuna says, on the ground things are different. So those were the governance arrangements. We have seen the appointment letters for the receiver of revenue and the list of the revenue collectors. The second supplementary question was on the information systems used in revenue collection. Now, you listed in the responses before us live forms, which you have indicated is no longer in use. You listed the second system after live forms was Jumbo Pay. Is Jumbo Pay still in use?
No.
The third system you listed was Revenue Sure. Is Revenue Sure still in use?
No.
And then the fourth system you listed was Nairobi Pay system. Is Nairobi Pay system in use?
Yes.
So that's the current system that is utilized.
Yep.
Is it only one or there are other systems beyond the Nairobi Pay system?
The system in use today is Nairobi Pay. Nairobi Pay system has different modules.
So, honorable members, because the Auditor General will be employing the services of a systems auditor.
Yes.
And one of the substantive issues that was raised in the audit report was that multiplicity of systems and the lack of interfaces or proper migration in between the systems that the Auditor General can handle. Mark?
Yes, Chair. We have a specialized department that deals with the information systems audit. Thank you, Chair.
So if that is the case, could we focus, just go through the system currently in use, so that the Auditor General can then interrogate the other aspects of data migration, other aspects of integrity of systems, other aspects of integrity of data in those systems, so that we deal with the system that is currently in use in Nairobi. If that is a consensus, then let's look at your responses on Nairobi Pay system. Who is the developer of this system? Governor?
Thank you. The responses are, as I've given, the developer of the system, or rather the system vendor, is the national government through the Ministry of ICT and Digital